I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to cut off my penis. I don't want to be that. So that book slapped for, 10 years of therapy. Then I looked up the word homosexual in the World Book Encyclopedia, and it said mentally ill. This is in
What? Really?
1971. And then that clacked, and that was another 10
Seriously?
years.
That's what it said. I had the encyclopedia. That was our internet back then. Is that what it really said?
And once a year, you wait for that book, to tell you what changed. Dealing with anti-Semitism my whole life, and being a gay man of a certain age has to deal with so much homophobia. As you get older, it really hits you that you have not as much time left on the planet that you thought you had. That really hit me in the last couple of years, especially during COVID and then 2 strikes and the possibilities of others. It really got me depressed. Some interviewer once said to me, he said, when you break the ground, do you get to work on it? Do you get to walk on that ground? And I say, yes, I'm going to keep walking until they stop me, which they've tried,
Jason Stuart, that's who we're talking to today. Great comedian, actor. We're going to get into his origin story, but we started from the root. We started with mom, which is
that's my
nice?
mom.
Yeah. Got to speak some Yiddish. I see. Here's the thing. I cheated though, because I had to sleep in the same room with my grandmother until I was 9 years old. She escaped the Russian concentration camps. So I heard more Yiddish when I was a kid. I was already like an old Jew by the time I was like 10.
Well, my mom was a Brooklyn girl. My father was a Holocaust survivor. He not the camps, but the ghettos. He came to New York in 1949 and married my mom in 1955. And sort of she fell in the shower kind of a thing. That's why my brother was born before she was pregnant when she got married.
So now let's get serious. Let's go back to you. Were you born in New York? Were you born in Brooklyn?
I was born in the Bronx. And I lived there for the first year of my life. And then I spent most of my life in Hollywood. And then 7 years ago, my mom, who was living in Cathedral City, which is next to Palm Springs, was ailing a bit and needed help. And I moved her back to LA. And she lived around 5 minutes from me. Then it became 10 minutes from me. Then it became 15 minutes from me. There was so much traffic. It's like the reason I moved to Palm Springs 5 years ago is because I think I was looking for a parking spot and I just kept driving.
Perfect. I know a lot of people moved to Palm Springs. It's great.
Yeah, it's easy to go to. Like last week, I was in LA for the week. I go back and forth all the time. I probably hear 75% of the time when I'm not doing a stand-up gig or shooting a film or TV show.
And auditions now, or you do your auditions remotely?
Right here in this seat.
Right. Perfect. Well, let's go back to you're 1 year old. You moved to LA?
Yeah, I was in a car. I was very short. I had no choice.
Okay. So where in LA did you grow up?
Grew up in the Fairfax area.
Oh, yeah. I know the Borscht Belt. So look, you're such
around all the Jews and the gays. The Orthodox want to be right in the middle of the gays. I don't know why.
Right in West Hollywood. My first nightclub. My first nightclub was on Santa Monica Boulevard. It's called Peanuts, 7969 Santa Monica Boulevard.
Oh, yeah, it's still there, but I don't think it's called Peanuts. I don't know what it's called now, but it's still there. And it's so funny. I just did a stand-up special with a gal named Jasmine, who's a transgender actress, and she hosted the stand-up special that I was in. And we had, the first time I ever saw her perform was at Peanuts. And I'd never been in a...
What year was that?
1996, I think it was.
Okay.
After I did a movie with her in Texas, where you live, in Dallas.
Yeah.
And I did a movie with her called Gay TV, the movie. I wrote them a note. I said, I can't believe you're doing this movie without me. And I played this producer of a gay TV network, and we became friendly over the years. And we just happened to be cast in the same special. And I saw her perform, and I never had been in a club where all the men were interested in trans women. And I thought, God, nobody's talking to me. Am I that unattractive? I mean, not one guy was looking at me. And I thought, this is so weird. And I was introduced to the idea of all different kinds of, people, in the special. It's just, I was a regular gay guy wearing a sport coat, and everybody, there's trans and there's liquid and fluid and in a box and on a shelf. And, it's all so different now. And it's so fabulous. Nobody cares in our world. They just don't care.
Right. And let's go back to Fairfax, though. I got to go in origin here. Fairfax.
Oh.
Did you go to Fairfax High School?
Went to Fairfax High, was beat up there, of course, by all the kids.
We want to talk about that too. Well, what year did you graduate?
Oh, I'm not going to say that. Do I have to
Oh,
tell the years?
no, you don't have
Let
to,
them
but
look it up. I'm not going to make it that
I just
easy.
want to know if we know some friends. Cause like Mike Messick's my friend. He was a
No,
DJ.
no, no. I'm sure. How old are you?
I'm 57.
Oh, you're old,
Yeah, I know.
but you look great.
Thank you. I drinking my green tea got right here and all that. And
I
I
just
try to
drank my powered core drink,
look at
vegan.
you.
Oh, and do you have a partner?
I know I seem like I'm gay, but but it's the
You could
Jewishness
be
and
gay. Look, you could be fluid. You could be
no,
gender. You could be liquid. You could be
I'm
in a.
boring. I'm a heterosexual. I got a wife and two daughters and
Yeah,
but
but are you sure? I mean,
I'm
everybody is there. I was talking to my girlfriend, Alexandra Paul, from Baywatch,
yeah.
gorgeous, my best friend. And I thought, I talked to her and I think, God, she's just so beautiful. If her husband ever leaves her, I'm in.
I have a very interesting story. My dad was a flaming heterosexual. He was the oldest in the family. He was a womanizer, and so I grew up with that mentality. I love women. I love the female form.
So you were forced into this, you were forced into being a certain way. And I felt the same way growing up. I felt forced into being very feminine or being very flamboyant, and I'm really not. I'm
I'm
so boring.
personable. That's what it is. I'm not gay at all. But I will tell you, my dad's brother, and this is what it was going to segue nicely in a year. My dad's brother, but I'm also Jewish. Jewish people are personable. That can be construed as gay.
Not all of them. Not all of them.
Yeah, I get. Well, not Bobby Fischer, but that's a different story. But my
Not my
dad's brother was gay, and in the 80s is older than you. He's older than me, of course. But it was a tough time. He actually, and then I was at GSA, which is a production company. I was working as a production assistant, and I'm telling the guy at the front who I was friends with, he was gay. And I said, my uncle was gay.
Nobody was gay. We still are. It doesn't wear off.
He was, because I said he ended up committing suicide. He had a very tough life. It was a very tough for them back then.
Gosh.
This is also when Ageism started coming out, when he did this. And I was telling this friend of mine who was gay the whole time. We were like close acquaintances. And he looks at me and he goes, after telling him this terrible story, he looks at me and goes, so what you're saying is that you had a gay member in the family. Like all of a sudden, like that's what you're getting from this.
Voice that you just did.
That's exactly the way he said. He sounded just like my mom.
You can't do that anymore.
But that's how he sounded. I know, but I'm old, so. But that's how he said. It's so much better if I tell it the story. And then I said, but that's what you're getting from what I just told you. Like this is a possible date. So but long story short, my uncle.
Hard to find people.
Yeah,
it's not easy. We're only 10%. It's not easy to find. And everybody's liquid or fluid or bisexual or pansexual or frying something in a pan or, microwaving it, or they're in a box or the refrigerator and looking for it. Everybody's, it's so hard to find, it's just very difficult.
So even though you're younger, but you.
I'm not saying how old I am. I don't want to say it out loud. It's so sad.
We established that you're younger. That's good enough for me. So now, but you're at Fairfax, but you're getting bullied.
Oh God, I was bullied all through school from the beginning of time.
Yeah.
I was bullied within my own family. Didn't even realize.
Is that where the comedy came? I want to get into the stand-up.
I don't even know. I mean, my mom was very funny when I was a kid, and my dad was quirky, and my family was sort of nuts, but they hated that I was funny. They hated me being funny. I would talk like this and say, why are you doing this to me? My dad said, Dad, I'm going to be on Everybody Hates Chris. Why do you want to be on Everybody Hates Chris? They love Raymond. They hate Chris. Why can't you be on that show? You're so stupid. That. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't ever think of you're acting. When people ask me that question, you act as though I didn't try to be funny. It just happened.
Right.
It just was who I am. Rhoda was a big influence on me on TV.
Rhoda, yeah.
Because her show was about Jews, and we didn't have any Jews on TV that said they were Jewish. In that house with the plastic covers and my thighs stuck to the plastic. In the summer, it was the same thing. The mother, was in the house and crazy. And my mom was very much like Barbra Streisand and, very flamboyant and sexy. And like if Barbra Streisand and Marilyn Monroe would meet Shirley MacLaine and Mary Tyler Moore from Ordinary People in terms of endearment, that would be my mother.
Yeah.
My mom was, she had 4 partners. She was just very all over the place. And my dad was a survivor and, had been through all this stuff. So I grew up with a very warped sense of what people were like. And they all wanted me to be like them, and I wasn't. And then as the years go on, people would tell me when I tried to act, they would say things like, well, you're like Charles Nelson Riley or Rip Taylor or Paul Lynde. And I didn't really relate to them because I saw myself as Richard Thomas on the Waltons. I thought I was going to put I put a little Marx Law on my face and I would walk around. So I saw myself more sensitive, Timothy Hutton and Ordinary People. And I thought that was who I was going to be. But, the idea, I remember in Funny Girl, there's a scene when she would said something where she says, I always say the joke first. So the joke is about me. So they can't make fun of me. So I was the joke. I didn't want to be the joke. I wanted to be the person making fun first. And that really hit me as a kid. I didn't have anybody that looked like me. If I'm in love with Robert Redford, who am I left to be but Barbra Streisand? I mean, there was no anything. I'll tell you a funny story. So I saw a TV movie on TV when I was very young. It was called That Certain Summer, starring Hal Holbrook and Martin Sheen. And Hal Holbrook plays a construction worker, and he's in San Francisco, and his wife is Hope Lang from the new Dick Van Dyke Show and The Ghost of Mrs. Muir. It was like, and you see the preview for the show. She would say really passionately, if he were a woman, I'd know how to compete. And I thought, I got to watch this. And then there's this one scene in the place where they're both wearing sweaters, and Hal Holbrook is wearing a V-neck with a shirt, and Hal Holbrook is wearing a turtleneck. And he puts his hand on his shoulder. He says, everything's going to be okay. And he's having him pack up to move out of their house because the sun is coming that certain summer, hence the title, to tell the story of the film. So I'd never seen two men who look like men talk to each other and we're in a relationship. I'd only seen jokes and people making fun of us, or people that were trans or transsexuals, or things that were more on the skirts of society at that time. Yeah. It wasn't at all. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to cut off my penis. I don't want to be that. So that, book slapped for, 10 years of therapy. Then I looked up the word homosexual in the World Book Encyclopedia, and it said mentally ill. This is in 1971. And then that clacked, and that was another 10
Seriously?
years.
That's what it said. I had the encyclopedia. That was our internet back then. Is that what it really said?
And once a year, you wait for that book, to tell you what changed.
Wow. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
it really said that.
Of course, I wouldn't. Why would I make it up?
I thought it could be a joke. I just have to hear that again to verify that. That's crazy.
Well, that's the way it was, and that's the way it was. And
wow, in print.
So it was a very difficult place to grow up. I equate it with growing up. It's like a weed growing up under a welcome mat. You go around it, you're in the crack, you're on the side, you don't get to go in the front door.
That was the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yes. World Book Encyclopedia Britannica. Yes. Which
is usually this day and age a good source of information. But if you look online of sources of information, because that's a commodity right now. But back 1971, maybe not so much.
No.
So real quick, I want to.
The funniest thing about the sweetest thing is I was in a plane. I was going to do a stand-up gig or film or a TV show somewhere. I was getting on a plane. I was walking past first class, and Martin Sheen was sitting there. And I looked at him and I started to talk. And he said, I know. And I said, how do you know? He said, anytime I see a gay man your age, he'll come over to me and tell me how much that movie meant to him. And to me, it changed my life.
Yeah.
So he was so sweet that way. And then I sat next to him for the entire flight and just ate off his plate and cut his, no, kidding.
Nice guy?
He was very nice, yeah.
So where was the first place you did stand-up comedy?
The Comedy Store, 1983 of May.
Wow. Yeah, I used to do that.
Well, it really was the second place because the first place was 2 years before, and I did it in the Comedy Store on the same stage in a workshop. And they told me I was terrible, and they tore me apart.
Who was the workshop? Which were?
It was Danny Mora and Robert Aguayo, and they were doing a workshop for new comedians, and they were so brutal, and I was so, sensitive.
Yeah.
And I never really wanted to be a comedian. And I
Right.
probably wouldn't have become one if I would have been able to act and be able to be treated as an equal.
Yeah. Why didn't you want to be a comedian if you started it?
Because I thought it was a way to get acting work, and then I sort of was good at it. I was naturally funny and
Yeah.
crazy. And then I got on Star Search and I got on the Merv Griffin show. And in the first 3 years, and then I did a lot of those half-hour shows. I did the George Slaughter show and Evening at the Improv and Comedy on the Road and Showtime Comedy Club Network and Comedy Express and Comedy this and Comedy that. And I did all these shows, and then I got a lot of notoriety. And then I came out on television.
Where'd you, what, I'm not familiar with that. What
I
show?
came out on the Geraldo Rivera show in 1993, which was 10 years after I started doing stand-up.
Wow.
And my whole career changed, and I became a major headliner. And I headlined comedy clubs for probably 25 years until I wanted to act more, because when social media came in, I didn't know what to do. And my fans didn't know how to find me, and I didn't know how to find my fans. And also, there was a cutoff for me because I was gay. And I was told, it's not, saying it, I've said this many times. I called the Tonight Show, and I won't say the name of the person, people can figure it out. And I called and I said, hey, what's going on? And they knew me. And I said, I'd love to do the show. And they said, well, you could do the show if you could do it without being gay. We'll start the process. And this was in 2004. I'd been out for 11 years. And it just cut me off by the knees. There's so much rejection in such a big way. So then I went another way and I created my own stand-up special. And I'm not sure, but I was the first openly gay comedian to have a stand-up special on Netflix. And then I think so. And it was on Here TV, which was the network, and they sold it to Netflix. That's what they used to do in those days, because they didn't make their own specials in those days. And I think I was the first. Margaret Cho was the first bisexual, and Kate Clinton was the first lesbian, I think. I know they were the first one on TV at Here TV, which was the gay network, which is still around, but not as popular as it was at that time, because it was so original, such an original idea.
Yeah.
And then I realized my dream has always been to be a great actor like Philip Seymour Hoffman or Paul Giamatti or, somebody like that, and Steve Buscemi. I want to be a great character actor, Dustin Hoffman, and so I kept going back to class, and I always stayed with my acting roots. And I did that for a long time. Yeah.
What's one of the big needle movers for you? You're doing stand-up and then you finally start to get more media roles. What really kind of...
I think the first thing that happened was Kindergarten Cop. And I played the hairdresser to the villainess. Mm-hmm. And I thought this was going to be a great, funny part. And when I went to the screening, Ivan Reitman, God bless him, walks back past me. And at the screening, this wasn't a screening, it was like this big universal premiere. And my God, I'd never seen anything like it in my life. There was all these people and tons of food and all this stuff. And he walks by me and he says, "You're still in the movie." Huh? And God, I didn't know that I was almost cut out. And I was cut out almost, except for one line and two lines. One line where you could see just this part of me without my head, doing a line talking to Carol Baker from Baby Doll and Giant, and I played the hairdresser to the villainess. And then another line when I get really scared, and when Arnold Schwarzenegger comes in trying to shoot all of us. Mm. And that was it. And my scene was cut down. And it was so disappointing, thinking, God, I have no power. I have no agency. And then I decided to come out a couple of years later after I did these empowerment workshops through the Advocate magazine, which was called The Experience. And it was really hard in the beginning because I was alone, and people told me not to do it. And a lot of people said it would ruin my career. And it was difficult, but it was also very empowering.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, I think the big thing that really helped me was Damon Wayans, Kim Wayans, Don Rio, Jim Valet, Bruce Fine, all sat together in a room on a TV show called My Wife and Kids, and they said, we have a role of a gay shrink. Who should play it? And they all said Jason Stuart. And I did that role, and it recurred. And that was a big thing in terms of and I started to do all these sitcoms. I did Will and Grace and the Norm Macdonald Show, and I did Drew Carey, and all my comedy friends were very supportive of me at that time.
Yeah. Has it changed? How has it changed? Stand up and film industry and.
Well, you don't have to be funny all the time in stand up anymore. Stand up has changed. It's more performance art-esque, more storytelling. It's become, we used to call it comedy that wasn't as funny. But not that and I like a lot of the people that do it. I love listening to Dave Chappelle. I think he's interesting. I like, Hannah Gaston. Forgot how she's from New Zealand, or I think it is. There's some Australia. I can't remember.
Yeah, I know who you're talking
Hannah
about.
Gatsby. I love her. I love all these performers, but it wasn't what we were doing. And now, like Matt Rife and Nikki Glazer, they're all very beautiful. They're thin and they're sexy and they have great bodies. Yeah. So it's not the people that the young people are picking it's about looks. It's become a whole different world. So it used to be for the rest of us who are just so imperfect. But they are very beautiful, and they're doing Botox and having things done, and everybody's, basically is terrific looking. And so it's changed. It used to be that, romantic comedy would have good looking people, but now it's become that. So it's changed in that respect. So when this special that I'm in now called Laugh Proud with all these things, it's in the LGBTQ community world, in our world, all the comedians are all different. The ones that are picked to be on things like Joel Kim Booster and Mateo Lane are gorgeous. I mean, drop dead gorgeous. Not just their bodies are like, they're like Ken dolls and G.I. Joe. And it's so different. You would never see that when I was younger. They couldn't do comedy because it would have been so distracting. Remember Bob? He was so good looking. It was like such a weird thing.
Yeah.
And him, and then there was some beautiful women that came out, but even the beautiful women were a little,
it was almost like a hindrance for them. It wasn't,
God, yeah.
Yeah. You had to have like a certain.
Now it isn't.
Yeah. I mean, although I would have to say that, it's unfair because Matt Rife and Nikki Glazer are, to me, I think they're great. I think they're still really good at their craft, but they're damn fucking good looking too. This bastard's got it all.
Yeah. It's just a whole new kind of way of doing it. And I always wonder why they want to do it. It's such a rough life, but I guess that's, because they could do other things. They have options. Yeah. Whereas they're not going to let me model. They're not going to, and you hear the comments, how beautiful they are, how sexy, it's like, wow. I mean, Nikki Glazer is gorgeous. I mean, that body is killer.
Yeah. When very topical right now. God, she really really increased.
She's having a moment. She's having a moment.
I'd say like a 25% increase of like notoriety, at least after this.
Which is really hard to break through in these days.
Yeah. That's how good that was. That Tom Brady roast. She was a standing ovation or partial standing ovation for that doesn't happen. That was a really good.
Because it's gotten so dirty. These things have gotten it's like how to out dirty each other. But something about hers was a little more original.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't even know.
Yeah. Now that's an interesting thing. Let's talk about, because comedy it's gotten harder. It's, the shattered assumption or the storytelling and how it has to be. I think it's gotten more difficult in the sense that to break out, you need so many different, factors working for you, wouldn't you say?
I think so. I don't really know because I'm not in that world anymore.
Right.
I don't, the idea of that, I guess I am in the world, but I don't.
You're still doing stand up.
Oh yeah, definitely. I
how often are you performing right now?
2 or 3 times a month.
Okay, yeah, but
I
do you
used to
find
perform, God, 2 weeks out of a month. But it's not, since COVID, it just isn't. I mean, like, oh my God, I lost my mind. Texas, who owns the club in Austin?
Joe Rogan Mothership,
Joe
Comedy
Rogan.
Mothership?
It's like, if Joe Rogan, does he listen to your show? He should be calling me. I should be on his show. But there's not an equality for people who are older. Once you get past a certain age, that's it in
Right.
comedy.
Yeah.
Unless something happens, unless maybe I stabbed you.
Yeah. Or you're Don Rickles, really have like a nostalgia
Well,
to you.
if I don't, those kind of comedians don't exist anymore. They don't respect them. Jimmy Brogan is out there. He's not being offered talk show things, and they're not bringing. They used to bring people. There used to be a respect for older comedians.
Right.
There is none now. They don't know
Yeah.
who. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you've done. I sound like an old guy, but I don't want to sound
No,
like
but
that.
it's interesting,
But it's true. There is no respect for somebody who broke the ground.
right.
But
America is like that. Like in Japan, they cherish their older
Elaine
generation.
Boozler, God, she was, and I saw her do a political thing recently,
Yeah.
and God, she was funny.
Yeah.
Funny is funny as Matt, right? Funnier, honestly, than those to me because it's more my age group. So I identify with them. So funny. She's in her 70s, I think.
Yeah.
Just hysterically funny. But there's not a respect for age in so many ways.
How about doesn't social have a lot to play with this? Because recently we're going to
For
see
younger people, yes, but you have to realize also at the same time, our group is Facebook. We're in Instagram, but our group is Facebook.
right.
The younger people that are in power, they do, it's a birds of a feather thing. They do what connects to them, but they don't realize that, my mom sits and watches, she's 87 and she watches tons of
That mom
television.
that I talked to in the beginning, she was
Yeah,
87.
yeah. So
Very
there's
lively. Very
there's a
Cylinder's working.
I'm not look at me. I'm wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I've got a beard. I'm sitting here, in my underwear. I'm not going to stand up.
Yeah.
And if you want me to, I
No,
will.
maybe later.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk. But the world has changed as a whole.
Yeah.
My dad worked at the same company for 35 years. He was the vice president of the Knockdown Manufacturing Company. He started, as a janitor in New York and worked his way up to a tie cutter, to running to the department, being a vice president and owning the company. We don't do that anymore in life. We don't care. It's the three-letter agencies that have taken over, like all the billionaires have taken over, like the Amazon has taken over. So everybody takes over. So the smaller agents, the more boutique people that represent people like me don't get the same opportunities, aren't treated as an equal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that doesn't happen. So you have to figure out other ways to be creative. Like I created my own series. I
Yeah.
have a series on Amazon called Smothered about these two guys who have been together for 30 years who hate each other and can't afford to get divorced. And we won Indie Series Awards. And then, I started, you say what thing, I started to go back to class after I did my special, and I started to work on being the character actor that I wanted to be, get the confidence and get the tenacity to do that, because people don't want you to, I've always been told to stay in my lane. I'm not right for this. Wait for that special part, that special thing. And that's what I tell to my landlord. I say, wait for that special day and I'll pay you rent when it really feels right. When I get that special part, and it's just that, and that happened around 7 years ago. I got to play a white heterosexual Christian plantation owner in 1831 in The Birth of a Nation. And
Right.
that happened for me. And then I went on to do other parts, playing detectives and shrinks, which I had done before, but more grounded people, more like when I was younger, I always played managers who were flighty or who were trying to get in. And now I play people that run things, like I did. I was the head of the, what was it, in Goliath? I played the head of a pharmacy company on the board. And in another movie, Immortal, I played the detective that dealt with spyware. So I was always in charge. Now I'm in charge of things, and you can't mess with me.
Yeah.
And that's what happens as you get.
Where we at right now as far as the film industry in the past, several years?
Oh, it's crazy because the film industry is all independent. My agent now is in Cannes trying to get us some work and do some things. And television is king.
Yeah.
I just watched Sugar with Colin Farrell. 20 years ago, that would have been a film. 15 years ago, it would have been a film. It was, 8 episodes. It was brilliant. But could they have done a couple less episodes? It could have been, yeah. But I like the idea of long form films and stuff. But they keep saying that people won't come to see it, but yet they do. They're going to watch. They're binging. We're binging things for hours on end, but we won't go to see Scorsese's film for 3 hours in a theater. But we'll watch an 8 hour series. It doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. Killer of the Flower Moon. I saw it twice. It was just. Can I say the F word?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
It really taught me about history and what was happening to Indian people. And I mean, that's where I'm at right now in my life, is the idea of when I saw Ava DuVernay's film Origin, it changed me. It changed me as a human. It changed me as a person. The idea that people put you in a box and create this reality for you, and they tell you where you belong, and then you buy it and you sell it and you live there. And maybe you'll walk out in the front, maybe you'll go through, into the backyard and look around, but you never go off your street. And I was told so much to stay on my street, and I never did. And people thought I was ridiculous, and people would tell me I was ridiculous, and people would say, you can't do that, and this isn't you. Why don't you be a publicist? Why don't you be a manager? Why don't you're so smart? Why don't you do this? And then I just kept showing up. But then as I get older, I want to break that box. I don't want to be, it's from the book written by Isabel Wilkinson, who won the Pulitzer Prize, called Caste, Caste, which comes from India, but that we cast ourselves in society in where we belong,
Yeah.
and being a Jew and dealing with anti-Semitism my whole life, and being a gay man of a certain age has to deal with so much homophobia. As you get older, it really hits you that you have not as much time left on the planet that you thought you had. And that really hit me in the last couple of years, especially during COVID, and then 2 strikes and the possibilities of others.
Right.
It really got me depressed and really got me just not wanting, honestly, to be totally honest, not wanting to get out of bed some days.
Yeah.
And so beside myself. I've not really talked about this too much, but I'm in a place where I just don't care anymore. Fuck it.
Yeah. That's a nice place to
And
be.
I started taking medication and started going back to the 12-step program of Al-Anon, and getting a better shrink. And
Al-Anon, you were involved with somebody that it was an alcoholic?
well, Al-Anon it's about people, places, and things, and being powerless over them. And in California, having a mother that popped her pills, and a dad who was Holocaust survivor, and a brother that was obese, and being in a world, in a career where nobody want me, and they told me all the time. And, and even now being legitimized in some ways is difficult. But I love the work. I'm going to keep doing the work. I keep creating things. I keep getting jobs. And some interviewer once said to me, he said, when you break the ground, you get to work on it. Do you get to walk on that ground? And I say, yes. I'm going to keep walking until they stop me, which they've tried.
Yeah, Hollywood likes to put you in a box, and that's just, it's just not you.
But it's more complicated than you would even think. It's the 3-letter agents that decide who get to be where they are. It's the idea that there are 7 people running the business. It's the idea that people make a decision on who gets the money and who gets to work and who doesn't. And they do it through this idea of regurgitating the same kind of things, or thinking that everybody likes the same kind of things, or a certain kind of person is not as valid as another.
Right.
And unless you're, anointed by that person, you don't get to be included.
I'm eager to talk to you about this now that we talked about that, and that is, being Jewish. In the past several months, it's interesting being a stand-up comedian on stage, and just in general. I mean, have you?
Well, I don't talk about it on stage because I don't know how to. I'll put it. I've talked about this so many. I do a podcast probably every week, and everybody's talking about this. And let me get rid of because I sent you an email. When we got disconnected.
Yeah.
I see it this way. It's not people. Some people think, yeah, they attacked Israel. We have to attack back. That's it. And if you are a thinking, breathing human being, if you're somebody that understands history, this is attached to dominoes. I think it started in a sense when Donald Trump moved the embassy to Jerusalem. That was a real fuck you to a lot of people in the world. Not that we don't have the right to do that, not that, but it started, that pulled out a domino. Netanyahu knew a year ago this was happening, chose not to act on it. And if you saw in the news, there was a fence where they just cut through and went into these different kibbutzes. On October 7th, right? Mm-hmm. October 7th, these Hamas, these terrorists, these awful people went in and killed our people. Jews, probably some not Jews, young people, people that lived on a kibbutz, burned people, rape people, horrific things that they've been doing in Darfur, that they've been doing in Rwanda, that they've been doing in other countries where people have not stood up for. And I know Jews that have not stood up for that. And I think there is no difference between Jews and people of color, Jews and people of anything. And I think that's also been part of the problem. Then, on the other hand, Hamas said they want to kill us no matter what. That's it. So, of course, we have to retaliate. We have to let them know that we can't be fucked with. And we have done that. We've annihilated basically 2/3 of their country. Now, there are all these people that live there that a lot don't have any education. They are told to hate Jews. I dated a man that was Jordanian and half Jordanian and half Venezuelan. And he said he hated Israel when he was a kid. And I said, why? He said, when I was 4 or 5 years old, they would bomb our house. So my mom would grab me. I'd be wearing my pajamas. I wouldn't have my shoes. And we'd go into underground in the basement to hide. That's all he knew.
Right.
So you're dealing with people that have no education, that have no, it's somewhat of a third world. And most of the people are below the age of 20 years old.
Right.
Then there are awful people who live there that hate us because they hate us because they hate us at the same time. But then there are college kids that I saw in 60 Minutes saying, hey, talking to the Israelis, we're talking to the Palestinians, and they said, we need a two-state solution. There was a two-state solution on the table that got messed up, that was not going to happen. And the fact that they have been hating Jews since the dawn of man. But at the same time,
since 650 AD.
But at the same time, there has been a color thing where we have hated people of color.
Right.
And when somebody's skin is darker, when somebody lives in a more primitive lifestyle, we think they're less. So, and I spoke to a Muslim gay man recently that I had met in a coffee shop. We had this long talk, and he said that there's, the murder and the annihilation of people of color and Muslims, and even in our own country where Trump stopped them from coming into the country, they put a ban on them, saying that, which says that all people are this way. And then we say, well, how else are we supposed to know? Well, why don't we put a ban on all straight white men? Because you guys kill everybody. You're the ones that are killing school. I think it's 75 or 80%. I don't know the exact 90%. You guys kill people. You guys also rape women. You guys are you rape more women than anybody. You also are more abusive than anybody. You're also, there's a lot of you that are white supremacists. So why can't we ban white men? I mean, you can't do that. You can't ban people because of that, but you can ban people of color, and they do that. And if Donald Trump becomes president, that is going to happen in this country. Now women have no rights for their own reproductive system. They have no rights to their body. No one listens to any doctors. They don't say what a doctor, especially in your state. I mean, I don't know if you have 2 daughters, you said?
I have 2 daughters, yeah.
well, God forbid something terrible should happen to them and they get raped or molested or have a tubular pregnancy or something. Who would you want, the baby to live, of your daughter? Your daughter, of course, because the baby's not here. The baby isn't a real thing, according to even somebody said on, oh, there was a woman, I don't know enough. I just don't think men should even vote on this because we don't know enough. We leave it up to the doctors and women to do this.
Mhm.
I don't, you don't know what's going on in the inside of a woman's body. And that's what's going to happen in our country. It's so upsetting. And there is no good answer for Israel. There is no good answer for Palestine. We have killed way too many people and we need to stop and find another way. Either the Israelis are really bad at finding Hamas, or it's just so impossible that they can't. Somebody said it on, her name is Jasmine Crocker, was on Don Lemon. I was listening to her speak the other day, really smart congresswoman. And she said, we went in there with a knife when we should have went in with a scalpel. And I thought that was the most articulate way of putting it. And that's what happened. So, and we don't know enough to have a decision to say that the Israelis weren't doing a good job, or they were doing a great job, or the Hamas is dead or alive, or is it work? There's 40 people left. Is it work? There's so much, and it took so long. And if it was my kid, I would be going crazy.
Right.
So it's hard. But there's also the mothers and fathers of children in Gaza.
Right.
Did their kids not matter? I
Of
mean,
course. No,
who started it? Well, they started it. Then they say well, they didn't start it. We all, depending on who you talk to, there's valid things that have happened in history to get us to this terrible point, of violence. I'm a pacifist. So if the minute that happened in Israel, I would have been on a plane and out of there with my kids.
Right.
And I have a girlfriend whose daughter has 6 kids. She's Orthodox, or 8, or I don't know how many there are. And they're staying there because
Right.
that's the chosen place. I couldn't imagine risking my children's lives to do that if I had kids. And I don't even have kids. If it was my mom, I would get her on a plane. We'd be out of there as soon as the next plane. I don't care where we'd be going other than Russia.
Yeah. Well, I think
or any place that's too cold, or too hot.
I think the interesting thing is outside of this particular subject, because that's like a 5-hour episode.
Well, there is no answer, and there's no good answer. Hopefully this violence will stop, and there will be some sort of agreement that will be made. But there's other countries now on both sides that we pissed off to no end. And if we don't get a president in there, our president at least has been able to cause some sort of give and take. He's pushing and pulling back and forth. He's in a terrible position. If we had someone else that just said, fuck you, we're doing it this way, then we upset people who could actually come into our country and kill us.
Well, the thing I wanted to, and this is interesting because you have all this swirling in your head, and you as an artist, what I want to know is, how are you navigating, not just because we can get into the outside of that, but I want to get into your personal, on like,
I was set to do a set at the Crow the next night in West LA. I was set to do a show there. When the attack on Israel came, it felt like someone had socked me in the stomach. And as a gay man, I felt that so much in this country because there's so little support from straight people in a cohesive, large way in terms of allies and what's happening in the world to there's places that I can get killed. I'm afraid to go to certain places and perform on a stage. That's part of my reason for not touring as much now. I don't pursue those certain areas. I won't go to Arkansas, or Alabama, or Mississippi. I won't go to any of those places. I'm scared. I'm an older gay Jewish man. Yeah.
How about the past? I mean, because it's just the reason why I ask this is because I noticed there's a lot being said. Some ways maybe more so Jewish now than gay. Things are being said.
It
No,
depends who you're talking. How many gay
depends on
friends?
where you're at, I guess.
Yeah,
Too.
how many gay friends do you have that are close to you? How much are you entrenched in the gay community? Probably not a lot, I'm
Not
guessing.
a lot, but
No,
a
but
few.
you know,
Friends, family.
yeah. But I mean, to me, it's incredibly upsetting. In Russia, gay people are thrown off of buildings. In certain parts,
You're still dealing with a lot of that.
in the Middle East, they are.
A lot of the bigotry. You're still dealing with a lot of that.
Oh yeah, but in the Middle East, a lot of gay men are forced to have sex change operations to be women, so they're acceptable to their society.
Yeah.
Did you know that? I mean,
No,
could you
it doesn't
imagine?
surprise me though.
It's shocking. And in this country, even though they think we're everywhere, they're saying it's still, not. I'm not treated. I have 160 credits as an actor, 120 or something as a comedian. I'm not treated in the same fashion as somebody who was straight that had this amount of accomplishments. So I'm not an equal.
Yeah.
I'm literally not. I'm dying to talk about something that I don't want to talk about yet because I haven't seen it yet. But and I don't want to seem like in this interview. I'm just really I'm just telling you that exactly.
That's what I want to know though. I want to know what's inside.
I usually don't do this, but for some reason, maybe because you're Jewish, or maybe because I don't know.
I talked to your mom in the beginning of the
Talk
episode.
to my mom, who I just love more than anything.
I love her too. Even though I don't know her,
She's my gift. I didn't grow up having a mom that was available. So to be with her in the last years of her life and to be able to show up for her,
yeah,
and to hold her hand in this is a gift of God. But on the other hand, it's not easy. It's not easy. But in terms
back
of
to real what I was asking.
Joe Rogan, your pal there, and let him call me and book me at his club without me having to call him. Let's
he's like
let him read.
I don't know. I mean, that's a tough thing to say because he's the toast of the town, or he's the toast.
Doesn't matter. He should be. If I were doing a club, I would be making sure that there were different people representing different people.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't he not? Does he not?
I don't know. I don't know him. I don't know him at all. I know him from the Comedy Store to say hello, and that's it. But
I'm not friends with him.
No, neither am I.
I wish I was. He's pretty to be.
I mean, but I know a lot of people. It's like they work in the office next to you or on a different floor.
Yeah.
I've known him, to say hello for years. That's it. But you don't see people reaching out. Ahmad, it's a good friend of mine. Incredible guy, always including me. In the straight world, rarely do straight men who run the comedy business let you come in. The big ones open for them. Russell Peters was lovely. I opened for him once. Judy Tenuta was always great to me. God bless her. We worked together a lot. But there's certain people that they don't treat us as equals to the straight counterparts.
To this day.
Oh yeah.
To this day.
I could lie and say, "Oh, it's great."
No, this is what we want to know.
It has changed. It has changed. Jamie Samasada at the Laugh Factory, not now anymore, but was the biggest supporter of me for so long. Yeah. Bud Freeman was very nice to me for a while. Mark Lano was very nice to me for a while. But they just, and as you become more successful in your career and accomplish things. I mean, I won the Indie Series Award of Best Actor. I got 2 comedy awards recently for being an LGBTQ comedian. I'm being honored at the Hollywood Museum at the Max Factor building, which is really sort of famous for my career for retrospective. But because it's not in their world, you don't get treated the same, which is exactly what Ava DuVernay and Isabel Wilkinson in the movie, the book and the movie Cast and Origin. The book is Cast, the movie is Origin, are saying is that we live in this place where we decide who goes in what box and whether they're relevant or not. This is the question. Are you relevant? Well, is Matt Rife relevant? I don't know. He's not relevant to me. He's very funny. I see girls are nuts about him. He's got this incredible audience.
Older women.
He's worked his ass off.
Right.
Worked his ass off. I know that. I've heard that from Paul Elia, who I know is a friend.
I think he has, yeah.
He's worked his butt off. He deserves everything he should get, but is it funny to me? It's a different thing. It's different. It's different to everybody, But is he asking me to go on tour with him? Is he? And I'm in that. I know Paul. Are they calling me? No, they don't. It's all the same boys of the same age.
Yeah.
And their audience, Matt's audience is mine. Older women and girls dig me. So it's, this whole thing sounds like poor me, I think, and I don't want it to be that.
No, but I think it's interesting, and I think it's.
I'm really lucky, but I'm in this place today in my mind. I don't know. I'll probably regret this interview.
No. This is the stuff that I want to get at. Is like what's going on inside your head.
Well, I'm lucky. I'm also lucky. I have a great place to live. I have a car that works. My health is good. I look great for my age. The relevant thing. That's what went out of my head.
Yeah.
Is Matt Rife relevant to me or people my age? No.
Oh, yeah.
I've watched his specials. I don't relate to that.
No, it's like music.
But I see that he's funny. I see that Jerry Seinfeld is funny. I don't relate to him.
Yeah.
I see that, but it doesn't mean, comedy is like food. Do I see that they're talented, that they worked hard, that their timing is good, that their presentation? Yes, they're great. But comedy is like food. And, certain food with age tastes better. When you put spaghetti sauce in a jar and it sits there longer and it marinates, it really tastes good.
Right.
Sometimes. But sometimes fresh rolls out of the oven are terrific. But if you leave them there a day, they get hard.
So
which could not be a bad thing.
Yeah. But, so yin and yang. So, but
that's the thing that makes me crazy is getting older, is that this relevant question, the idea of it. I am relevant to people. I know that I am. And what I'm talking about in my act about getting older, what I'm talking about helping my mom out, what I'm talking about, how hard it is to be alone at my age, and dating people and how difficult it is in the gay community because we've been so beat up by everything, especially gay men. There was an article in the magazine that said, gay men over 40, the idea of them meeting somebody and falling in love is so difficult because they're so damaged by society. You cannot not be, what's the word when you cannot be damaged by all of this. Right. And so you're dealing with all that information, still trying to show up, get up every morning, create your projects. I'm always creating something. I'm making a film now about redlining and about a generational wealth, about a Black family and a white family. And when everyone dies, who gets the money? That's my next project. It's a drama in the sense I want it to look like a Terrence Malick film. So I never stop working. I never stop creating. I never stop going after the things that I love.
Well, those are all universal.
Yeah, but I didn't used to do that. I used to go after what I thought I should go after.
Yeah, which is also a universal trait, right? There's a lot of people that have those issues. So to encapsulate what I wanted to know, though, is that still to this day for you, you're feeling more of a pressure from some people in society when you do stand up, when in your life and in your work. To where
no,
as opposed
pressure.
to like
I don't feel pressure. I feel
because they're both tough things.
No, but I don't feel a pressure. I feel a sadness that
I feel. I'll tell you. I'll share. Let me tell you what I'm dealing with. I did stand up about 3 months ago, and I felt a little bit of Jewish hate. They're like, really? Wow, okay, Or I felt like some ageism, a little bit of ageism because I'm older now, as opposed to because I go off and
well, because we don't encourage older people to come to the comedy clubs because we tell them gay men will not come to regular comedy clubs. It's so hard to get them to come because they're, especially anyway between 40 and 70, because they've been beat up by the comedians. Dave Chappelle, even though he's a brilliant comedian, he's obsessed with us.
Right.
I don't really care what he thinks about us. As a human, as a comedian, watching him and seeing his progression as a performer, I love it. But as a human, fuck off. I don't care what you think. I don't. You know what I mean? I don't care. I'm not.
I've listened to it. There's not a way to. There's not a way to candy coat what he said. A lot of those times.
But he has the right as a performer. I give him that to say anything he wants to say.
Absolutely.
And the way he weaves a story is just like no other. And I watched that whole thing about the trans and the friend and and how he did it. He went through this story. It's like a solo show of performance art.
Yeah.
It's not what we would call traditional stand-up comedy, joke, 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 set up, joke.
Not a lot of LPMs in that routine.
No,
they're there, but not a lot.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
And that's okay. Look at the other comedian, Gerard. Oh God, Gerard Carmichael. He sits on a stool and he talks about his feet. I feel like I'm in his therapy session, and I'm obsessed. I want to listen to him. Is it comedy? I don't think so.
Yeah.
For me, is he interesting to watch, and does he make me laugh at times? Maybe. I'm more interested in him than I am in him being funny. They don't make me laugh. They make me think. So I feel like I'm watching their movie or their television show or their book.
Likewise.
I don't feel like stand-up to me, but I still think they're talented, and I'm still.
They're good rocking tours, but there's not a lot of laughs like there used to probably earlier in their career.
No, and it's very much like the '60s, like what Dick Gregory was doing, or Carlin. It wasn't laugh out loud funny, but it was so much of speaking to a generation of people.
The other thing is, if they were to start their careers like that, they would never have been popular.
I just think it should be evened out, and you should have a little bit of everything. And
I'm just saying, if Chappelle started his career performing the way he does now, he would not be Dave Chappelle.
No, that's not true. He came in and they were like, I remember the night that he walked into the Laugh Factory and everybody kept talking about how brilliant he was.
Yeah, there was a lot more jokes in those routines, whereas loud.
Yeah, but it was never laugh, laugh, laugh.
Yeah, well, that Tonight Show
style that overwhelmed it. It was never like he wasn't Joan Rivers. He wasn't Richard Pryor. He wasn't. Right. He didn't have that thing.
Yeah.
He wouldn't survive in the comedy clubs across the country with the way comedy was and still now, I don't think they would survive if they didn't have a name and they didn't have their fans coming to them.
Yeah.
There's certain comedians that you come to, and there's certain people. Bud Freeman used to call me the crowd pleaser.
Oh,
I think there's room for everybody.
Yeah.
And but you hope that it would be treated equally, and that's the hope.
That's high praise coming from Bud Freeman.
Yeah, he was great to me. And then at the same time, he'd say, "Get out of the way, get out of the wall, get out of the hallways. You're in the way, Jason."
Yeah, everybody says that. Everybody says
he was obsessed with the
hallway
to the showroom was cleared. So we'd all stand up against the wall.
Yeah, everybody tells me that about him, that damn hallway.
Well, there was no place.
Tell people to get out of the fucking hallway.
There was no place for us to hang where we could be a part of the show yet still hang. Now there's a big thing upstairs, but the Improv is very
corporate now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a corporate thing. It's all about 3-letter agencies and who has the most social media people. But I don't think social media people come to see people in person. I think they're busy on their phones going like this.
Right. As we come to a close, I want to be able to know.
Wait, is my hour up? I thought I was in therapy.
It was actually supposed to be 25 minutes, but I love you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation.
So for people listening, and if you even listen to the end, these are just my feelings. They could change tomorrow. I don't want to seem like a complainer or.
I like it. This is a nice raw
somebody
episode.
That's ungrateful, because I'm very grateful. For my life.
Typical Jew. You're kvetching. This was.
But I'd
real.
be happy. I know. I'd be happy. I was going to say I'd be happy to have the career I have, but I'm not 100% happy with it.
Jason Stewart's the kind of guy you want to hang out with at Carnegie Deli, which is now defunct and gone. But like 2:30 in the morning, eat a pastrami sandwich and just say and talk and kvetch, and that's what life is about.
So let's do a show at Joe Rogan's club in Austin and call it "We're Not Dead Yet."
We got to get you on Joe Rogan. You really want to go to Joe Rogan?
Oh, I do, because I think that he's the mothership now, and I think that he doesn't have my voice on his show ever.
Well, then we got to do that. He's got to. We'll have to tag him or something and say,
you do it. You're there. Go to that club.
MySpace. He was approachable back then. Maybe Now we got to look.
Oh no,
Everybody
he's
listening, we got to get Jason Stuart at the Comedy Mothership. Anybody that has a connection or anything, you got to get him out there. There's so many good people going there. Jason Stuart, actor, comedian, it needs to perform at the Comedy Mothership.
Stuart.
Stuart. And
So
has
if they look
art
me up,
in the name of his
Stu Art.
Stuart.
There's food involved, and there's art. There's a stew. It's very good.
Jason Stuart, what you tell us real quick, because I want to know what's the long-term play for you? Like 5 to 10 years, a big long-term plan.
I want to get another great film role or television role. I want to be able to get back and do some more talk shows and things like that and be funny. And that's basically what I want.
Let's do a top 5. I like to do these at the end. It's fun.
Okay.
I'll do 2 with you. What are the top 5 ways a gay comedian can excel in 2024?
Not be called a gay comedian, just be a comedian.
Nice. That's 1.
Oh, 5 things?
5. You need 5.
Get a 3-letter agent or manager that actually is willing to stand behind you and hold you up. That's what was great about Nate Parker with Birth of a Nation. He really held me up in such a way that working with him was easy. That's 2. 3, I guess be able to find the right man that it's able to show up in life. It's a big deal for me because I didn't have a family that showed up. To be able to breathe easily, to be able to breathe and to be able to feel the love from so many people that have been so supportive of me for so many years. And I speak to them all the time, and sometimes I can't hear it and I can't let it touch me because I think if it does, I'll break. And then the last thing, I guess, it would be to, had it in my head and it just went out. The 5th thing is to not forget what the 5th thing is. That's it. Not forget what the 5th thing is.
Be in the moment.
I am in the moment.
I'm not yelling at you. I love that response. I am in the moment. All right, now let's do this. Top 5 ways a Jewish comedian or performer can navigate themselves through 2024.
Kindness, generosity of spirit. Don't hold yourself on a pedestal. Be open to listening to both sides. To know your history. To know that all lives, all the lives matter there in this situation. And to pray that some God or higher power somewhere will stop this killing of both sides. It's just awful. It's just so hard to think that I've lived this long and this is what's happening in the world, and I believe that Trumpism is part of it because we lead in the world. Not Trump himself is the leader of it because he's not smart enough or powerful enough, I think. It started before him. He just happens to be the one that sold it to us the best or sold it to these other people the best. And for those people who love him and think he's so great, take away his name and line up all the things that he said and see if you would be willing to vote for a man that, has 24 women that said they molested him or raped him, or he raped, to anybody else to have, I think it's 80 something counts against him, to be able to say F you to everybody and not give the documents back because he wanted to look through them. To not tell someone that I need so-and-so more votes, figure out how to do it, figure out how to get me more votes after an election on a telephone call with a governor, starting an insurrection and telling people stand proud and stand ready, or however that phrase was said. If anybody else had done that, if Obama had done that, he wouldn't be alive. Some crazy Republican would have killed him if he behaved like that. If anybody else, it's just hard to comprehend whether you like him or not, I don't even know what he stands for. He started talking about abortion the other day, and he says, we'll leave it to this. I'm not sure. How can you be not sure of how you feel about a woman's right to choose?
Your interview today is diverse as your career, because you're not in a box and you're talking about this, you're talking about that. That is your career because you're a comedian, but you have dramatic roles. You definitely are you're an open vessel. And that's kind of like how your career.
I want love for other people. I want love and I want people to prosper in life. I want people, that's why my new film is about generational wealth, because I want the Black community to have the same opportunities as my father did when he came to this country. A Jewish person could go into the schmata business, an Italian can go into the restaurant business, an Asian person could go into the cleaners. There were places that people could go where they would hire their own, whereas a Black person couldn't do that. You want everyone to have the same opportunities and the same love and money in the bank, a car that drives, a vacation once a year, your children will get an education, just the things that this country is supposed to be built on, no matter what you are.
Right.
And it's not happening.
Well, this was a very interesting conversation we had today. We went a little bit over, but I think it was worth it. And I think
you're gonna cut me up.
We've gone way. I got one more to do today, and I want to make sure I get it.
Okay.
But I feel like it's so funny. I feel like I've known you longer than I have, and I just met you today.
This is such a long interview. You don't remember, but you were my first husband. You don't remember.
I would remember that. All right, Jason Stuart, tell everybody how they could find out more about you and where they can find all your socials and on your everything.
Everything, you just go to jasonstuart.com, Stuart. Everything is there.
That's the beauty of having an original name. Stuart. That's how you remember that. Jason Stuart. Very, very talented. Very, very interesting. Very, very diverse. Thank you so much for sharing today.
Oh, thanks for asking me to be on the show.
You're not in a box and you're talking about this, you're talking about that. That is your career because you're a comedian, but you have dramatic roles. You definitely are you're an open vessel. And that's kind of like how your career.
I want love for other people. I want love and I want people to prosper in life. I want people, that's why my new film is about generational wealth, because I want the Black community to have the same opportunities as my father did when he came to this country. A Jewish person could go into the schmata business, an Italian can go into the restaurant business, an Asian person could go into the cleaners. There were places that people could go where they would hire their own, whereas a Black person couldn't do that. You want everyone to have the same opportunities and the same love and money in the bank, a car that drives, a vacation once a year, your children will get an education, just the things that this country is supposed to be built on, no matter what you are.
Right.
And it's not happening.
Well, this was a very interesting conversation we had today. We went a little bit over, but I think it was worth it. And I think
you're gonna cut me up.
We've gone way. I got one more to do today, and I want to make sure I get it.
Okay.
But I feel like it's so funny. I feel like I've known you longer than I have, and I just met you today.
This is such a long interview. You don't remember, but you were my first husband. You don't remember.
I would remember that. All right, Jason Stuart, tell everybody how they could find out more about you and where they can find all your socials and on your everything.
Everything, you just go to jasonstuart.com, Stuart. Everything is there.
That's the beauty of having an original name. Stuart. That's how you remember that. Jason Stuart. Very, very talented. Very, very interesting. Very, very diverse. Thank you so much for sharing today.
Oh, thanks for asking me to be on the show.
Thanks for joining us. Gear up for your next adventure and head over to bolotour.com to check out the amazing Bolo Pack and their other innovative outdoor gear. Catch you next time.